As we head into TFT patch 14.2, this video presents one of the best comps to play for getting free LPs. After a thorough meta-analysis, we've come up with the BigShot Ezreal comp. There's a small buff in the attack damage for our BigShot units like Kaisa, Corki, Misfortune, and Ezreal, leading us to this meta contender. Now, let's dissect every important decision we need to make while mastering this comp. Let's start with the early game. First up, Xanthi is one of the strongest headliner options in the early game. If we get a Sentinel headliner, we play with units like Garen, Corki, Kaisa, and Mordekaiser. Even Echo is a fine substitute. This forms a strong board for the early game, especially if we slam an early tank item on Xanthi to ensure a winning streak. In case we get a Heartsteel headliner, we must add an Aphelios to activate the early Heartsteel synergy. Alternatively, getting a Sentinel headliner on other units like Garen can be preferred for the early game, allowing us to play with 4 Sentinels. Coming back to the Heartsteel headliner, typically, with 3 Heartsteel, we should go on a losing streak at the cost of some HP. However, if we find Set and Yone, playing with 5 Heartsteel allows us to play with an inconsistent streak. Whenever we get a BigShot unit like Misfortune, make sure to pick it. Another early game version includes Senna as an item holder for Ezreal. At stage 3-2, aim to reach level 6 with a 40 gold stack. This can only be achieved through either a complete win or loss streak. Moving on to the mid-game, ensure playing with Heartsteel units to get the extra gold value offered by it. At stage 4, we have a few possibilities. If we have more than 70 HP with no competitors for our comp, then we can focus on reaching fast 9. Stack 40 to 50 gold and roll for Ezreal and Jhin. Always keep an eye on our opponents. If we are being contested, at level 4-1 or after the 3-7 monster round, instantly move to level 8. Remove the previously placed headliner and roll for Ezreal headliner. In this case, we aren't focusing on maintaining 50 gold, even 30 gold is enough as we can regain our streak. Move to level 9 later to play Jhin. This strategy also applies if we are low on HP. If things go well, we can be level 9 at the 5-1 round and re-roll for our final board. Playing with Heartsteel is applicable only when we aren't sure that we can maintain our winning streak. If we have a strong board early on with something like Disco or KDA, make use of it to maintain the streak and reach level 9 quickly. Now, if we get Ezreal as the Heartsteel headliner, our level 8 board would look something like this. If we get a BigShot headliner, that is where this comp peaks at its best. With the support of other BigShot units like Corki and Misfortune, alongside Garen, Echo, and Mordekaiser, we get this perfect 4 BigShot 4 Sentinel board. Once we find Jhin, we can swap him with Corki. With the Ezreal Heartsteel headliner, our final board doesn't include Xanthi, Mordekaiser, or Garen. Set and Echo, along with Blitzcrank and Aleoi, become our frontline tanks. Qiyana adds the true damage synergy. This is how our ideal final level 9 board should be. Once we 2-star our core units, we can comfortably reach the top 4. The Ezreal BigShot headliner doesn't change much. We can swap Kaisa with Kayn. Now, let's look at the itemization strategy. Early on, Corki is our item holder. We then move it to Aphelios and finally pass it over to Ezreal. Ideal items for Ezreal are blue buff, mandatory for reduced mana cost, red buff, increases speed and burns target, and infinity edge, increases damage and crit. Other options include Last Whisper, Giant Slayer, or Deathblade. If we don't get the blue buff, we can opt for Rageblade, stacking more attack speed paired with Hand of Justice for Omnivamp. For Jhin, aim to make him cast faster with items like Spear of Shojin, Red Buff, or Rageblade. Giant Slayer can be used against tankier opponents, given the bonus damage from the BigShot synergy. Moving on to tanks, a common mistake is crafting attack items without proper tank items. If our frontline doesn't hold up for long and our backline with even powerful attack items gets wiped out easily and will likely lose rounds, thus a sturdy frontline is crucial. Give at least one defensive item to your primary tank initially. For this comp, we give tank items early to headliner Xanthi, who will replace later. If Xanthi isn't available as a headliner, slamming tank items on Garen is a good choice, as we can play Zac until we get Aleoi. Slamming excessive items on Zac is also an option. For tank items, we can go with any combination such as a Redemption with a Gargoyle Stoneplate and a Steadfast Heart, or a Crown Guard or a Sunfire Cape, which we use for our early games. Other combinations like a Bramble Vest with Warmog's Armor and a Dragon's Claw also works well. Not to forget, Even Shrouded is also useful in this comp, as all our main carries are AD units and the armor reduction would be of more value. All these tank items can go on Blitzcrank or Aleoi. In terms of positioning, Place Aleoi's tentacles in the corners to counter Akali or Lux sniping. Adjust positioning based on opponent strategies, providing more time for the backline to stack. Switch between Lucian and Qiyana based on the situation. Excessive items can go on Qiyana, who can provide additional items for our units. Now, let's discuss augment preferences. If planning to play Heartsteel in the mid-game, then augments like Clear Mind and Cluttered Mind are great choices. Other economy-friendly augments like Balanced Budget, Rich Get Richer, Going Long, and Hedge Fund can also be picked. The best augment for this comp is Bigger Shots, which also got a bit of buff in this patch. Make sure to have the BigShot trait active during the augment selection to have a possibility of getting this augment. For our AD-based units, gold augment choices include Idealism, Know Your Enemy, You Have My Bow, and You Have My Sword, as they give either bonus attack damage or attack speed. In the silver tier, consider Tiny Titans, Buried Treasure, Item Grab Bag, or Pandora's Box for crafting ideal items. In the prismatic tier, options include Hologram, Living Forge, Prismatic Ticket, Talent Search, and What the Forge. As we mentioned artifact-based augment, do check out our video on how to utilize the What the Forge augment from our channel. The link is provided in the description. One more thing, with spatula crafting we don't have much choice other than a Heartsteel emblem here. Can also pick BigShot, Jazz, Sentinel emblems from the carousels or Tome of Traits, if available. Remember, don't play a predetermined game, be flexible and adapt to any situation for the win. You can also find other variations of this comp in our channel. That concludes the video. We've covered every aspect of this comp, and we hope you found something useful and interesting. Try it out, and let us know in the comments below. For more interesting and informative content, subscribe to our channel, Item Swap.